Welcome to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about the internet, its users, and their consequences. I am disgraced comedian Winslow Domain, sitting here with internet historian Jay Brandstetter, and we have been discussing the late, great Fredrick Brennan, who very recently passed away. And we left off our last episode just before he created 8chan, which we will explain what all of that means. And we're starting off in, it says October 2013. So take it away, Jay.
Yeah, October 2013 is when he creates 8chan at 19 years old. Somewhat famously, he was coming up from mushrooms when he made it. He had been like hanging out with someone, yeah. And this isn't his first time with a website, though. He'd also bought WizardChan in 2013 as well. And then he had to step down a couple months later because he lost his virginity. So
yeah, dude, I remember that. Yeah, he posted about it, and they were just like, "Get out of here." Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, he had to commit seppuku. Yeah, and he had a girlfriend or two around though, but they didn't go very well. Like there are like stories about like locking him in rooms and threatening to kill him.
Jesus, yeah.
One of them. So yeah, fortunately, another bad experience for him. And but for 8chan itself, the sort of central concept of it was basically taking the Reddit model and applying it to image boards. Where on Reddit, anyone can make a subreddit and moderate it, and people can just make whatever communities they want. And he had the same thoughts, like, well, let's do it with the image boards, and then just sort of you can like, well, if you want to make an image board about this, you can make it about whatever. And because he was a very crank libertarian at the time, he had that conception of free speech. Where he's like, as long as it's not illegal, it's allowed. Like nothing that'll get arrested for hosting, but otherwise, like, yeah, if you want to have your weird Nazi stuff on here, go right ahead. It's free speech, baby.
Yep, that's like, it's one of those, it's the paradox of tolerance. There's a variety of different, just different things about that world that are hard to explain to guys with small imaginations. That like tolerance means being intolerant of the intolerant, and that can sound insane, but it's like, in order to defend the Romani and the Jewish people and the disabled and every other type of person who would have been put into a camp, we need to be intolerant of those who would put them into camps, right? And you get the same thing with like the libertarian free speech stuff, which is just like, it's just words, it's just words, it's just words. And then, and then Christchurch, and then the, what's his face? The Supreme Gentleman, the incel mass killer, and then so many other mass killers since then. There's ties back to these kind of hyper libertarian free speech websites. How many mass killings have been announced by 4chan users on 4chan? So there's just like there's just limitations because ideas are like, can be like cancer cells, and they can metastasize. And the way that the culture of 4chan works is that it's the kind of the perverted cream rises to the top, and then that's what everybody sees, and that's what everybody comments on, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's a complicated political belief system, I guess.
Is, yeah. And in his case, I think that like a part of it was he was a little 4chan edgelord. Like he wasn't completely naive. I think a part of it was like, yeah, he thought he liked being transgressive, but he also genuinely like, he's a big open source free software Linux guy. He does believe in these principles, and up to the end of his life, he had them in different ways. Like he's very much into like freedom of information and like, letting people have access to stuff.
Definitely like the truest sense of the internet is just like free stuff for people. Free thoughts, free books, free programs. It was this like huge, ambitious project that I think is just, it's lost in the modern conception of the internet. But there used to be, there is still now, but there used to be a greater culture of people making programs on the internet, and then or for your computer, and you wanted to do some specific thing on your computer, and now you can. I think about free software like Audacity or GIMP or whatever, and it's like those can tie their kind of their genetic heritage back to these kinds of pursuits on the internet of just like being a place where everybody's helping each other make their systems work better, you know? So
yeah, or like almost any piece of software or hardware, there's like an about section full of like new open source licenses because they have a bunch of stuff in it. Like, yeah, it's so much, even commercial stuff is built on top of it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. No, so this further radicalized him because he's spending all this time around the dregs of the internet. Like 2014 is when his article supporting sterilization for the disabled was published in the Daily Stormer. That was when he, that 2014 is also when he got doxxed. And at that point he was like, well, fine, I'll just do everything under my own voice instead of my old username. Thanks, that reminded me. His old username was Copy Paste. When people call him Hot Wheels, that wasn't a name he picked out. That was just the 8chan people being really uncreative with their nicknames. Like, he didn't like that
makes sense. Copy Paste is a fucking sick name, though, dude.
Yeah, he liked it because he's somebody who does copy. He sends people a lot of information. Also, because it's hard for him to type because he has short arms, he would usually just copy and paste stuff instead of rephrasing it. Like when I lived with him, a lot of times he would transcribe stuff. He would use speech to text because it was easier than typing with his arms.
Well, I got a new phone. And one of my new things is that I just do speech to text for everything. I'm just sending people these fucking long-winded ass messages, and I'm sure it's annoying as shit, but I do speech to text for fucking everything now. I'm not typing this shit out. I'm gonna die soon.
No, it is very useful. The only problem I have is Fred's dog Hitomi. The text to speech always picks up as "he told me," so it's always weird when I talk about our dog.
Like, what's that NFL guy called? He hate me. Yeah, that's so fucking good. They ask him what that means, and he's like, "Oh, he hate me." Oh, yeah.
And so with 8chan, the big explosion happens in September of 2014 because that's when Moot, or 4chan, bans Gamergate discussion from it. He's like even 4chan was like, "Fuck it, this stuff is radioactive. It attracts the worst people. It's not welcome here." And so Fred was like, "Well, free speech is welcome on 8chan. You can come here." And the number that he provided in one of his interviews is it went from 100 posts an hour to 4,000 posts an hour over the course of that month. Like once the Gamergate was started.
It's just, oh Jesus, God.
I've shown you this picture before, but I wanted to give you an illustration of the crowd that this was attracting. That infamous picture of Hans Christian Grabner that was used to prove he was the Nazi cartoonist Stone Toss is from an 8chan meetup with Fred in New York. Like, yeah, there's Stone Toss fourth from the right. He's the blurry guy in the back, and there's Fred right in front, like looking very young and holding a bottle of vodka.
And it's just like a couple like gothy edge girls, and then it's just a whole gaggle of goons. Yep. They were too edgy for 4chan. Okay. How many of these people are like hopelessly lost down the right-wing pipeline, and how many of them are now like crystal hippies that believe that the moon is a hoax? You know what I mean? Like, how
many of these men are still men?
Yeah, how many of those men are still men that's the real question. Whatever. That's very true.
I did want to bring that up too, because it's very fun when that was unfolding. I showed him the picture, and he's immediately like, "Oh, that fucking guy!" like, because he told me like that Hans was like a notably unpleasant person at the meetup because everybody just wanted to drink and hang out, and he couldn't chill out with the Nazi stuff for 5 minutes. Like, imagine being the guy who's at the 8chan meetup who's the unpleasant one.
It's so funny that, like, look, man, Fred's got. He's in this wheelchair. He's broken so many bones. His life is like pretty diminished because of this condition he has. And Hans Christian Grabner of Texas has like this botched circumcision that has just shattered him mentally. That it's turned him into a Nazi, and he's like on Discord saying like, They made my penis wrong, and now I think that people should be killed about it. And Fred turned out to be the more, like, even keel one. Fred has every reason to want revenge against this human race of ours, and a guy with a broken dick is just losing his mind back there. Ugh.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like one of the first times I think I remember hearing about Fred was like when Gamergate was first happening and people were talking about 8chan in terms of it being like the hotbed of that. And yeah, the first time I saw him, I was like, this is the first time I actually understand why one of these people might hate the world. Like, yeah, I get it with him. Like, he's not like some like suburbanite who's mad about pronouns and their email signatures or whatever. Like, he's somebody who has some very legitimate grievances with the world, especially more so now that I know how like a lot of the tragedies of his upbringing were just because he was failed by different systems. Like,
it takes work and spirit and like fortitude to not concede to nihilism. You know what I mean? Like to not just let yourself collapse to like the system consistently has fucking failed me. People have fucking brutalized me and failed me over and over and over again. You know, it's it like the black pill is being like forced down your throat, and you have to fight it with all the strength you have. And you know, he slipped away for a bit, but he's a brilliant guy, and he recognized that it's all of that shit is a lie, and it's actively poisoning you. Yeah, and I think that there's a certain amount where like I remember I had like a friend group back in Omaha where there's at least one day that I just kind of looked around to them all, and I'm just like, oh man, none of you are going anywhere with your life. So I just need to break away from all of this. This isn't going to work. And hopefully he had that experience at this fucking 8chan meetup.
Unfortunately, not this time, but later he would eventually. Yeah, and that does remind me. Like, I don't want to belabor the point very much, but yeah, this is the guy who owned Wizard Chan died with like a boyfriend taking care of him. he wasn't even paying me the last 6 months. We were partners. We were just sharing expensive for stuff. Like, but that's one of the things about him. I was like, yeah, he thought that he was like an unlovable, lonely person, and like even when he did have partners, it was like stuff that went horribly wrong or wound up being abusive. So yeah, he didn't think he had anything better waiting for him. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I want to tell a story. It's like, yeah, if you're somebody who's like that, this is somebody who's probably objectively worse off than you were. And admittedly, they're also probably a lot smarter than I am, other or less regular people. But like, I think it's the fact that he was able to turn it around is really inspirational. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started talking to him, because I was going through my own shit about like trying to turn my life around after some bad internet stuff in the past. And that was something we bonded over. Like I felt very much a kindred spirit with him for that context. Even not to the same degree, obviously, but I think as you phrased it when I broke the news, like you said some mildly spicy things on a website. He created 8chan.
Yeah, I mean, like that was we've talked about it in the past, but like when you and I first started doing the show, I did get a DM from someone just so you know, this is who you're working with, and they linked me to a video apology that you made, and I was like, okay, maybe it's really bad. Let me find out what this jaybrandstetter guy has done. And like, I not to belabor the point because we've been over this, but like you were an internet troll on a website full of internet trolls. Who cares? Like,
now they've had some distance. I will fully admit a part why I was sitting me so hard was like my entire friend group at the time were like Tumblr type furries. So like there were people who reacted much stronger than like the average person would to this. And that's why now I've had some more context. I'm like, oh yeah, they were allowed to do that. It's perfectly fine. Like you don't have to be friends with people or talk to them if you don't want to, but also it's been kind of like, okay, not everyone hates me. I'm not completely alone in this.
Yeah, and dude. I mean, fucking glad I am that Manson USA has been completely expunged from the internet. Nobody needs to know the stupid things I thought when I was like an angry little shithead. Like I to quote Sarah Palin, I repudiate all of that,
like that apology video is still up on my YouTube channel. I'm not taking it down. It's, it's a part of what I did. And I want to own it. And it's like, that's one of the reasons I want to tell Fred's story too. Is like, I don't want to minimize like the things that he did or was related to, but I also want to show that like, it's sort of like I think about like a tattoo cover up. Like some people, when they see a tattoo cover up, their attitude is like, oh, this is someone who's trying to hide the fact that they're bad. When like the actual fact is, no, this is somebody who stopped or is trying to stop being bad. We want to encourage that instead of like, ostracizing them and driving them back to where they were. And that's kind of what I feel like is sort of like what happened with him was he realized he was wrong. He did what he could to try and make up for it. And then what he felt like he could, he tried to live his life as best he could. Like that's, and if you believe in like prison abolition or like you're against capital punishment, like that's kind of usually the goal you want is for somebody to realize they're wrong, try to make up or restore somehow the damage they caused, and then become a better person in the process.
The social when I say social justice warriors, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not complaining about social justice warriors. I hope I don't need to belabor that point because it's 2026. But like we've talked about this before. There are a lot of people who they like punishment for social crimes. They like punishment for bad opinions and bad thoughts and social missteps and things like that. But they do not like the idea that somebody can ever be forgiven. There's a lot of people that I know that, like, yeah, they used to be dickheads on the internet. They used to have stupid, problematic opinions because everybody's scared, especially when you're on the outskirts of society. You're going to have some pretty weird views of things, and maybe you get some shit wrong. And there's people that are like still hounding them today about opinions that they are like clearly not, they don't believe anymore. And yeah, if you want to believe in second chances and letting people like atone for their sins, you have to fucking let them.
Yeah, and I'm no stranger to insincere apologies or people just apologizing to avoid consequences or whatever. Like, I get that that's a thing. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. I don't mean to steel man about and to be like, oh, so what, you're saying we should just let people come back without consequence? Why am I doing this? I'm not on Twitter anymore. I don't have to care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that like you have to go and like forgive the people that like grievously hurt you. I'm just saying that like being an asshole online when you're young, I mean, like anytime.
Yeah.
You have to have a period where you like people should be able to go, fuck, I messed it up. I'm really sorry. I got that wrong. And then you just have to go, all right, let's hope that if it's a pattern, that's a different thing. You just give people a second chance. If you have it in your heart, and I hope that you do.
Yeah. And like even on a personal level, like you're allowed to have boundaries. You don't have to forgive people if you want to, but like on a social level, it should at least be like, even if I don't like this person, like, that's sort of like I guess I'm trying to always go from the better of like maximizing the best we can get.
Yeah. Like when you hear about somebody, it's like, oh, they had an ugly breakup, and you're like, okay, they weren't dating me. I don't know. Like maybe they handled it weird because the relationship was weird. The number of times I've been in a thing where it's like, man, sorry, I was an asshole while you were abusing the fuck out of me. Like, sorry, I was weird when you were treating me like a dog. I guess maybe I said some bad things while you were cheating on me constantly. Sorry about that part. I'm not going to get an apology for the cheating, but I'm going to you'll definitely get an apology for me being mad at you for cheating. Anyways, Fredrick Brennan hanging out with an illustrious group of online dickheads. I really genuinely want to know where all of these people...
At the very least, I want to know their usernames.
Yes. I want to know the ladies here, because like I wonder how many of them became like Twitch streamer VTubers, or how many of them are just like now they're doing like trad wife stuff, or maybe they're just like still riding the 8chan Gamergate train. I don't know.
So eventually it's the second most popular image board after 4chan. And Fred's having trouble keeping the site online because most internet hosts want nothing to do with it, and he doesn't have any way of monetizing it to host himself because no one wants to have ads on it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all of the things that like the Holocaust stuff that I'm seeing on Twitter, there's just like ads running against it. It's running right alongside it. Coca-Cola Holocaust. Fine, whatever. Nobody cares anymore. That used to be a thing.
Yeah. And then, so this is the point where Jim Watkins enters the picture and offers to partner with him and, keep the site online and pay for the expenses and everything in exchange for moving to the Philippines and working for him. This is the parts that sort of detail out in the documentary. But, Fred personally was really hyped about this because Jim Watkins owned 2chan, and 2channel, which is the Japanese progenitor of 4chan. And since he's an internet history nerd, that was really exciting to him, but he didn't know that it was because Jim had conned the original owner out of it, the Japanese guy whose name...
Yeah, there's a great... What's the name of the HBO documentary?
Q Into the Storm.
Yes, I've watched it twice. It's really interesting. And it kind of goes into like how 2chan was stolen away from its original owner by Jim Watkins, and the things that were put into place.
If you like this show, you would like it.
Yeah, very much so. And the intro to it is sick. The intro to it is
thank you. I love that song, and I love that they have the little Hitomi in it, which is very fun. That's a fun bit of insight I can have. Is I feel like a lot of the stuff in that is pre-made assets because Hitomi is a Pomeranian Chihuahua mix, but in the intro, it's very obvious he's like a pure Pomeranian. So I feel like they probably got like a stock model and ran it through some filter to turn it to marble or something. Not criticizing it; it's a fun bit of insight into the creative process.
Yeah, that's so funny. God. I hope there's never an HBO documentary about me unless I'm really, really, really cool. I
guess that's the one upside is like if I ever got bad enough to have a documentary, at least the animated interstitials could like feature pandas or something. They have a pretty easy I finally got my persona in a movie.
Yeah, and mine's just like a fucking rat. Oh, take it away.
And his mom did not like the Watkinses from the get-go, but by this point, Fred is an adult and he's independent. You know, he's making his own choices and he's not living with her anymore. So not really much she can do about that. And so that's when he moves to the Philippines, and this is when the stuff from Q Into the Storm happens. So I mostly wanted to highlight just some fun little personal stories he told me about, like little things that might not have made it a documentary, but I thought were pretty entertaining. So first off, somewhat relevant to the conversation about Stone Toss earlier, he was briefly a coworker with Joshua Moon, the owner of Kiwi Farms.
Yeah. I mean, Kiwi Farms sucks in a million ways.
Exactly. The worst.
They're the worst. I like that they hate you, but they refer to me as a struggling comedian, which I think is really fucking funny. And I think I went on Kiwi Farms and looked up Chicago Rat Hole, and there was one person who was like, "Wait a minute, I know that fucking name." Which I thought was it was just a fun little glimpse. But yeah, Kiwi Farm sucks. Everybody on it should definitely walk into the ocean.
And also just like as a resource too, it's horrible. They don't really they're terrible at preserving stuff. Everyone there hates everything so much that nothing is trustworthy. It's just like people impersonate people on there. It's just complete. It's worthless. Like Like I was like what I was doing is just in case I took a look on there just to see if anything recent happened that I missed. And like one of the most recent posts they made about Fred on his old thread was for his 30th birthday, I'd gone to the grocery store and got him like a frozen Carvel ice cream cake because he likes those. And I got him like the 3 and the 0 candle and put it in and lit it up and put sparklers in it. And I surprised him with it. And he was really happy. And I cut it for him and I gave him a cake. We ate together. It was a wonderful little memory, celebrating his 30th birthday with his best friend who would eventually become his boyfriend and his mom. Just wonderful, cute, like idyllic little time. And they had taken the picture he posted of his cake and put it on the forum. Like, oh, look at this fucking cake. It's disgusting. And I'm like, if there is not a better, more on the nose metaphor for like the difference between Fred and these people.
Seeing somebody else eating cake and getting mad about it. Yeah. And you're alone eating nothing.
Yeah. That cake was not losers. For you. That's why it doesn't matter what you think about it.
Yep. Yeah. And if there's a non-zero chance that there are Kiwi Farms users listening to this, and I don't want to have any misunderstandings here. You have 2 choices. You log off and you never go onto that website again, or you give yourself an honorable death. That website is poison and you are a bad person, and the only way out is to leave. It sucks. Anyways, Fred taught himself Tagalog. Which is
the language of the Philippines. It's
so that's not the one with the clicks.
Oh no, Tagalog is it's what they speak in the Philippines. He does know a little bit. He does know some African languages. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, probably. But
when he was doing subtitling for Amazon Turks, one of the things he's really good with accents. So a lot of his subtitling work was for like people in Africa, like preachers and stuff that needed videos subtitled. So interesting bit of patina to his language knowledge there.
That's crazy.
Like he could tell the difference between East and West African voices just by like the sounds and stuff in them, even if you know the actual language.
Interesting. God. Yeah. I mean, just such a gifted individual, man.
Yeah, like I'm pretty jealous. Like I wish I could be that way about like stuff like that instead of my dumb stuff like video games. Like, but it's
I don't know. I mean, I understand what you mean. But
I've made my peace with it. Like it's just I'm a different person. I'm neurodiverse. I function differently. I can't be someone like you who can focus on stuff and work on it all the time. That's fine. I'm kind of like Fred. I had to work through that, but I've kind of made my peace and I've got a life going here I'm pretty happy with.
Doug, we're on episode 77. Of a thing that you've been working on with me for years now. You do these things. And this podcast wouldn't exist if you didn't have the referential knowledge that you do, which I like. I'm not just saying this now because this is the topic, but like one of the things I admire about you is that like I'll make a reference to one thing and you'll have like 6 other things that you can cross reference it with. And like, that's why this pod works. And that's why it's fun to talk to you, is because like, you're not just like so many other people just going like, haha, yeah, man. You got shit to say. Like Fred knows languages and culture, and I don't know, comedy and like games and stuff like that. I know systems or whatever. But like, I don't know. Yeah.
And also not just knowing these things, but being willing to talk about them. That's a lot of it too. A lot of people don't want to do that. It makes them uncomfortable to speak out or like in person or on the internet. that's kind of, it's one of those things where like there's both knowing it and also knowing how to use it as a part of it as well. So yeah, I guess that is part of it too. I do like talking about stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. But there's like this kind of arc of his story of working with the 8chan people and the Watkins who James Watkins. I'm sorry, dude. You could not create a more cartoonishly sinister individual.
American Graham Linehan.
He has like the eyebrows that are pointed into little like devil horns and this like wicked smile that like just like this like lascivious, just a vile like reptile individual. And
his son is like the modern version of that. He's like part of like the Max Landis line where it's just like
and his son is just this like it's like he's like shy Hitler. You know what I mean? He's just kind of like Hitler without the bombast, and so just has these like vile little snake opinions, but he's just like, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it could be, but I should maybe. It's like, oh my God, like it's under no circumstances do you have to give it to Adolf Hitler, but at least he said it with his fucking chest. And so like when you see these like worm tongue little twerps that are just like non-committally is like, I'm just going to present a platform for people to plan mass shootings, but I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't. Well, but the buck stops everywhere else but me? It's like, oh my God, dude. If I started a website and that website was linked in the Christchurch shooter Wikipedia page, I would reconsider everything I've ever done with my life. But like these vermin just don't see how they could ever have anything that they've done be wrong. Watch the documentary if you haven't already. It's just insane how evil these people are.
On that note, I do have a fun sort of bit about that though. Is last year Fred got a message out of nowhere from Ron Watkins, because Jim Watkins is basically dying, but also like he lost most of his money, like a lot of his businesses haven't been doing well, and it was basically him being like, I'm gonna have to get an actual job now, like complaining to Fred, being like, good, kill yourself and blah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. I mean, just again, watch the doc. It's so interesting, and he's just such a fascinating, vile individual. Definitely, yeah. Anyways, that's I've gone on too much about these people.
Well, it's kind of a good lead-in for this next part, because Fred taught himself Tagalog because he's a language guy, and because of that, he could actually talk to like the servants and wives of all the other expats there, because it's like he was brought there by them, he was living with them. It's like. But he's actually somebody who's interested in people and culture stuff, and he wanted to know about of course the Watkinses were super racist about the Philippines and their language and stuff, and so in him he's not, and he tries to learn about it. Him talking to these people, he's kind of getting like another side of these people. He already doesn't like these people, but now he's like, oh, these people are like bad,
go like imagine being like super fucking racist and then moving to a country in which you are the minority, like. What?
I think I do get that, because that's a part of like the colonial fantasy, is like having power over like a bunch of like poor minorities, like that, or like a lot of like like that's why people like to move there, like Vietnam or Panama. Like you retire somewhere with a bunch of people who aren't like you, but they're poorer than you, so you can kind of boss them around and feel important.
It's just weird that familiarity breeds contempt to such a degree that people go out of their way to breed more contempt. You know.
Yeah, it's anything to feel something, I guess. But yeah, there's better ways.
Exactly that.
And like one story he told me, like I don't think he's ever told us before, but he mentioned it. He alluded to it in the interview. But I'll take and tell it here now that he's gone. I was like, he was at a nightclub once, and one of the women there was a human trafficking victim, and since he spoke Tagalog and the other guys didn't, she was asking him for help, and he was like. And this was kind of like a realization, because he's like, I can't help you. Like he's like, my life is just as controlled and locked down. Like I'm physically vulnerable. I don't really like, I have a driver here, but like my finances, and basically him kind of realizing like that was like a big moment for him, kind of being like, okay, this is worse than I thought. Like, you know.
Yeah. It's two different types of that's not the word. I don't want to say helpless people, but two different types of people in desperate situations. And yeah, it's just a real tragic experience.
And also just being in a situation like that and not being able to help would feel awful. Like, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's such an exquisite kind of pain, is to like watch something happen that you just can't stop, that you can't.
Yeah. For the Watkinses, a fun story is once Jim gave one of his workers a couple $1,000 pesos and told him to go buy some kratom, and he returned with literal garbage bags full of kratom leaf because Jim didn't realize how inexpensive raw kratom is. Like an inverse of the "it's a banana, how much could it cost, Michael" thing.
Oh, buddy, that's how we get some people back onto this show. I don't want to say who, but I know a few people that could be brought back to the show with a garbage bag full of kratom. Yeah. That's our new episode. So once we run out of drug episodes to do on Something Awful, we just start making our own drug episodes.
The special trip report series.
Yes, exactly. Where we just pick one person, get them zooted out of their mind, and then just
no. It's like Russian roulette. We have two, but one's a placebo and the other's actual drug.
Yeah, exactly. You're just smoking oregano. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like petty evil. Like the Watkinses were the type of people that would go out of their way to run over animals on the road when they saw them. Like one of the things one of the things that Fred really liked about me was that I would like go out of my way to avoid turtles, because like, this is Atlantic City. We live near a beach. There are like little turtle crossing areas and also like seabirds and stuff. And like when I was in the road, I'd be like, "Oh, careful, go around them." And he was like, "That's why I know about this," because he told me about that when I did that. He's like, "Wow, the Watkinses never did that."
Yeah, dog. I like. I've had a couple times in my life where like I've been with a girlfriend and like, she was distraught about one thing or another and she's crying, and like I put down everything that I do and I'm just like there with her while she's crying and like do my best to console her. And I mean, more than a few different women have been like, no man has ever done that. And it just paints this picture of men that are just like, really? Men just keep doing the dishes while you cry? That's insanity. And so the idea that like that Fred was like, wow, I'm really glad that you're not just killing random animals, just paints a picture of the Watkins that is just bleaker than I expected to paint, man. That's just insane.
Like this was a dark one. That was kind of a regular occurrence. And it was just him not realizing something was unusual or not being aware of something common. Like, I really appreciate like how that's why I keep emphasizing that he was very sheltered growing up.
Yeah,
he was very sheltered growing up. Yeah,
I get it for sure.
Yeah, and also, like one of the nice things about this though is that he was somebody who wanted to travel, and he did get to travel with them. Like he went to like Japan and Thailand with them for business trips, but because it was with the Watkinsons, he was always stuck in these like seedy tourist trap places and bars and never got to like leave or go anywhere. It's like I could see that definitely being like a thing where it's like one of the things you're actually into, and it's just like, oh, I don't even get to do that. It's just like, he's like, that was one of his things. He wanted to go back to Japan sometime. So one time he got to go there, they were just like in a bar the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to see the places that are not just like the most immediately wheelchair accessible, and that is just fucking hard, Yeah,
and also like as a language person, like getting to speak a language around a native speakers, like be immersed in a place that uses that language is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was one of the last things we got to do. Like the last week or so, like the video game we started was we were playing Yakuza 0 because he'd been talking about wanting to go to Japan. And I was like, well, we could go to Kamurocho. That's like a virtual vacation to Japan. He really liked it. Like he was telling about the signs and explaining cultural stuff and the translation. Like it takes place in the 80s and they call each other bro. And I was like, I wonder what they call that in the original Japanese. Like, well, the word they're using is more like comrade. And I'm like, well, I get why they do that then. Comrade has different connotations in English. Like it just gives you a different appreciation for the work that goes into localization when someone can explain it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, there's so much grammar and terminology that I've learned from, like fucking Far Cry and all that. That's why it pays to have somebody with an English degree on your game dev team.
That was a funny thing about Fred was he wasn't a gamer, but because he was online a lot, he'd picked up certain gaming terms. Like he would use dual wield a lot, even though he never played shooters. He's like, that's what that means, right? I'm like, yeah, that's what dual wield is.
That's funny.
Sometimes check me on stuff. Yeah.
He was akimbo. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, one of his friends, who's one of my friends now, she's really into Halo. So I imagine that's probably where he picked it up from. So. And then I have, so this next section of the notes I have labeled post 8chan, which is the parts that are after the documentary. So to summarize, he basically, after the Christchurch shooting happens in New Zealand, that's like the moment for him where he's like, no, this isn't right. We can't do this anymore. And he wants to shut the site down, but he doesn't own it, and the Watkinsons disagree. So he basically starts trying to either use legal stuff to try and get them shut down, or just be a huge internet troll and cause problems and make sure everyone knows that these people suck. And because the Philippines have different libel laws than us, he was successfully charged with it. And he's a disabled guy. And his thing was like, if I go to prison in the Philippines, I'm probably going to die. So he was like, so that's why he wound up leaving and becoming a fugitive. And, he left his wife and his dogs behind. He was eventually able to get Hitomi, but with his wife, that's kind of how they parted. And she got to keep the condo and the other dog. And from what I understand, they've talked a couple of times since then. It seemed to be pretty amicable. But just, he's like, I can't come back. I'm a fugitive now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, man. Well, if you two ever got married, he could actually be a bigamist. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
international bigamist.
Good that he got out of there.
Yeah, again, if you watch the documentary, we keep hyping up him escaping from the making that whole section is incredibly tense. Like when we went to the interview, the people there were gushing about the HBO documentary and how cool that part was. Like that was one of the things. Like, oh, when people who work, it could have just been them trying to warm him up and make him comfortable, but also just people in broadcasting being like, well, that thing was really cool, made you appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very tense and interesting and fraught story for sure. Yeah. And so after he flees the Philippines, he lands in California, and that's right when the pandemic hits, and he's stuck there. And he doesn't have a job, but he does have money and investment saved up from his years of working with the Watkinses. But he also has a chronic pain issues and nerve damage from his condition, and he's not able to get the medical care he needs because of the pandemic. Remember, doctors were shut down. They were quarantining. It was a lot harder to get in touch. Also, a lot more people were being hospitalized and treated, so you had to wait a lot longer to get help. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the Philippines, he got to see a doctor regularly, and the way that the way that doctors are in the Philippines, at least they work out of hospitals. So it's a lot more vertically integrated. If you go to a doctor and you need a test, they just give you a room number and you go there and you do the test. Or if you need an x-ray, they send you. They don't refer you to a specialist and turn you around. So him being alone again, he was used to having a wife do stuff for him or help. And now he's back to on his own again. And it's just on top of everything else, he's just completely alone.
Brutal.
Yeah. And so since he can't get medical help, he starts ordering opiates off the dark net to sort of self-medicate in lieu of legit medical care. And then he becomes addicted and he spirals from there.
Yeah. We have not just necessarily funny, but kind of funny stories about how that reared its head. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. And he's somebody who would know how to do all that. I wouldn't know where to start. Yeah,
when I first met him, I just assumed he was somebody who had been on those pills his whole life because of his condition. I didn't think about it being something that he had started relatively recently. Which again, probably internalized ableism on my part, but still,
Yeah, I mean, but also I'm profoundly ignorant of how to acquire drugs and drug culture and all that. So,
is one of the funny things he told me about that was when he was buying drugs, that was when NFTs were a big thing. And so the site he was using, the guy who owned it got really into NFTs. So your login token was an NFT. And he was like, yeah, no, everyone has their own NFT. So when you were buying drugs, everyone had these really shitty, lame-looking little pixel people that were all the same art style and interchangeable. And it's how do you make buying drugs look this lame?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Drug users and computers have just produced nothing but fucking dorks. It sucks so much. We should have never let people with drugs on the computers. Then we could have so many more better bands, When's the last time you heard a good band that was good because of heroin? Usually heroin just makes somebody I don't know. Now it's just you get into NFTs and shit. And it's just, come on. This isn't fun. We don't need this. Bored apes, all that. Yeah.
I guess so he's addicted. Eventually he moves back in with his mom in Atlantic City, and she knows that he has a problem, but she also knows that he needs help. So she lets him stay with her, and she tries her best to, help take care of him and guide him to the help he needs. She knows if I tell him no, he'll, he'll probably end up somewhere worse. And if basically it was like, I'm working on this, and basically I'm being a little defensive there. Yeah. But like, yeah, I'm glad she did what she did. That was a good thing. Also, that's part of why I'm here. Like when she saw I was struggling, needed help, and she was like, here, you can stay with us. Like,
Yeah. And like, it's like, oh man, you have to pump the brakes before you criticize any mother anywhere, but especially the mother of a opiate user, because it's like, it's really fucking hard. It's a hard drug to kick. And it resets your entire brain, and like there is a way out, but it is fucking fraught. So like she didn't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like she's the reason why he started hiring an assistant. That was her idea. So me coming here was thanks to that too. So it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's staying there, but he's very depressed and despairing. His attitude is he's basically just running out the clock. He's just like taking drugs, sleeping a lot, eating ice cream, and just kind of like, But also the flip side of that is this is when he starts being open about being a furry and liking men, because he's like, fuck it, nothing matters. Why am I hiding this? Just like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shrugging of the shoulders.
I've mentioned it before, but so his persona is a chubby green raccoon in shorts named Fred, and its sort of lore is that he lives in the vents of a data center, and that at night he comes down and plays with the computers. So I got this little picture of him. Yeah,
yeah, there he is. He's a big old chubby raccoon.
In his shorts.
In shorts, sleeping on the floor of a data center.
An interesting note I wanted to bring up, too, is that Fred, the persona, is able-bodied. Like, he's still a small person, but he can walk and his legs and arms are straight. And I just wondered, because like that's a very personal and individual thing, how furries with disabilities represent that in their persona, or if they represent it. Like, I know some furries in wheelchairs where their persona also has a wheelchair because they've explained, it's a part of who I am. It's how I think, it's how I represent myself. And even how, like, sometimes their persona will have a special wheelchair that they've designed for it, like, that fits in their setting or whatever. Like, it's all how people do it, and that's one of the things that's cool, is how everyone has sort of different approaches to it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And like the way that he's sort of living at this time, it's almost like a nicer version of Low Tax's final days, where like Low Tax was like, basically just spending down his money waiting to die. And this is kind of like that, but instead of spending it all on like, Gold Belly cookies and stuff, like, I mean, he's spending a lot of money on the dark net, but also like I have some of the stuff that he had been doing like at the time, like he cares about fonts a lot. So what his thing is that he establishes the modular font editor K Foundation. This is an open source glyph editor for creating fonts in Linux. And this was something he was really passionate about, because the glyphs are what they call the individual letters and fonts. And the big piece of hardware to make it is done by Adobe. So it's proprietary and locked behind a subscription. And his thing is like, there are a lot of people who could make fonts, especially for like dying or rare languages, but don't have access to the software to do it. I want to have like an open source way of getting around that. And so he made this, it's still an alpha from what I understand. And also he used some of his money to pay his friends to work on it when they needed income. He's friends with a lot of computer people. So it's like, okay, here you can work on MFEK for, a couple months or whatever. He was also he briefly became involved in local politics. Like in that election campaign, he donated for and was like talking to them about like accessibility in public transit as a disabled person. Like that's one of the reasons his family lives in Atlantic City. It's a really old city. It's before cars, so it's walkable and it's very wheelchair friendly.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of forces you to be aware of local politics, because unlike able-bodied people, it immediately affects you. You are in the crosshairs of the political machine, as a wheelchair user for sure. I just think his work with fonts is just so interesting. He had of course, if you watch the documentary, you can see his favorite letter is Q. And so he has a lot of Qs. He has Qs everywhere.
He does. And that's the thing, since he was a kid. Like, you have some of like his childhood fridge magnets still on the fridge here. And like we have like some of his other decorative Qs. And like that's probably why they picked that, because they knew it was his favorite letter. That's such a weird detail of that, knowing that too. Like almost like taunting him.
Yeah, fascinating. So wait, do you think that the original Q picked that because that was his favorite letter?
No, it's like assuming the Watkinsons were the original and not taking it over at some point. It could just be a coincidence, Maybe I'm narrativizing it.
Because Q is also like, there's like a Star Trek Q, and James Bond has Q.
The reason why he liked it is because he likes, letters and fonts. He likes Q because there's a lot of variability in how you express it. Like the tail can be done different ways, whether it's round or an oval. There's all these. He knew all these fancy terms about that I don't. But it was one fun thing was he would talk about IPAs a lot, but it's like a font thing. So I was just like, the first couple of times I was like, I didn't know you drank, and he's like, what?
Yeah,
I don't know who's on first moment there.
That's funny. So yeah, he's working on his persona, and he's doing like free software stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was cute is he subscribed to local newspapers to support independent press, even though he wouldn't actually read them. It's like when I first started working, he's like, help yourself to any of those newspapers if you want. I'm not reading them.
That's so funny. It's very much what's the Akewood comic about the guy donating $10,000 to Oreos, and he's just like, I like the product. I want to give him some walking around money. Yeah. That's funny.
And he did get involved in open source stuff with some of his money. Like one of the reasons he got to attend Libra Planet was because he donated to them. He was in Esteem. Like when I was with him, he got to meet Richard Stallman, who is like sort of one of the originators of the free software concept. So that was pretty cool.
He
still sounds exactly the same, even though he's much different looking now. He still has that exact same voice from those old videos.
Yeah, I'll bet between the two of you, you've met some pretty interesting internet history people.
So far, yeah. Looking forward. Yeah, it's been pretty neat.
Pretty illuminating.
And also with his persona, one of his things is like, since he'd never really been open about that, now he starts using his money to commission a bunch of art of it. But part of his thing is like, he's not usually when furries commission art, they commission it from other furries and like that they meet at art sites. Since he was used to like Amazon Turk and stuff, he got most of his through Fiverr and other such marketplaces. Okay. So. And part of his way of using it was like, oh, well, I'm doing stuff with MFEK. So it was like he'd commission art of his persona in stuff, like an illustration of the 4 freedoms of free software, where there's the little raccoon acting out the different freedoms. Or like sometimes he would do news updates and he would just use art he had commissioned, like this one when he was trying to buy 420chan.org. Yeah. He was brought upstairs for firm talking to. There's a picture of his raccoon being abducted by a UFO.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's such a good angle. Just a big fat raccoon getting abducted by a UFO. I don't know. It's just very funny to see.
Yeah, I also include that as a reminder because when I first came, he had an interest in internet history. And one of his projects at the time was he was buying up a bunch of old image boards to try and preserve them. And he was he was petering off around that time because he was having a lot of trouble buying 420chan. It was owned by Curtainer at the time, also real name Aubrey Cottle. He's the guy who takes the credit. He says that he's the founder of Anonymous, and there's a documentary on Netflix account in 2024 called The Antisocial Network, Memes to Mayhem. And he's kind of like the Fred figure in that they focus on a lot. And also Fred is in that a little bit with Hitomi. That's one that they did in Atlantic City. So that's kind of him before I came here. Well, yeah, and I do have a note here as well. He has a tattoo on one of his arms that's covering up self-harm scars. I don't know exactly how he got them, but he did tell me about that once. And I don't think there's ever going to be a chance for that to be noted. So I figured as well. So he's somebody who went through a lot.
Yes, naturally. I get it.
So he had been doing interviews and stuff. The HBO documentary is really popular, so he gets a lot of follow-up requests, but he stops doing them because he's already somebody who doesn't like being photographed or videotaped. And he feels like the interviews now are just sort of people rehashing stuff he's already talked about or trying to get him to espouse some sort of a thesis that they've already come up with. Like even if it's not about 8chan or whatever, they'll just want him to say something as a soundbite, basically. And he didn't really like that. He felt like he'd done all he could, basically.
Yeah, I get it. They're putting words in his mouth.
Yeah. And so with that, now we're all caught up to where I was when I met Fred, September of 2022, after he followed the Something Crazy Ass Moments and Something Awful History account.
Yeah. Okay.
This is kind of a little personal part because this is my perspective on it. But yeah, it was so I was interested in him, but I was also cautious and skeptical because I'm me. And over time, his actions and attitudes really convinced me that he was someone who was genuine before I even met him. Like one of the first conversations we ever had was about the topic of restorative justice because we were talking about our past and stuff. And I was sharing my feelings about things. He's like, oh, that sounds a lot like the Hebrew concept of teshuva. And because he's a language nerd and he's ethnically Jewish, he's Ukrainian Jewish, so he knows Hebrew and everything. And he had so we were talking about that, and it really me like, oh, you think about the same things I do, and you have most of my frames are reference for pop culture references, like different characters going through things, and his were like these language concepts, but through that we were kind of bonding off of it. So I was like, okay, I definitely feel like this guy isn't just saying stuff; he knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
I think that's part of really getting to know someone is just seeing if you're from the same lexicon of thoughts. Even if you don't agree on things, being able to understand the abstract way that you think about the problems of life, and coming from the same place. It wouldn't work for the two of you to be meeting in the middle if one of you just genuinely was just completely self-interested. And so the fact that the both of you actually care about humanity it's just important, you know?
It is, yeah, and he was someone who was broadly religious. Like he's someone who converted to Christianity in the Philippines. When I heard that before I met him, I assumed it was just something he did because like he was getting married or whatever. But no, he actually is someone who's like he's not tied to any one specific religion. I'd even see he'd watch like YouTube about Buddhism and stuff as much as well. He was just someone who like I think like he was looking for answers, and he found in religion was one of the ways he found of like sort of taking these concepts and going through them. So like that was a part of him and learning about.
Yeah, he just wanted to be learning all the time.
Yeah, and then another incident that kind of really swayed me was I was still trying to get my furry history show going at the time, and there was an unreleased episode I did where I interviewed Polly Kidd. She's an Australian game developer who worked at Beam Software, which was like a big 80s and 90s studio. They made the Super Nintendo Shadowrun game. That's how I know of them. Okay. And she's trans. Her story is really cool because her thing was she used to be a martial artist. And then when she transitioned, she wasn't allowed to compete in contact sports anymore because of, gender bullshit. So she became a dancer because she's like, well, I have all this good, physical control. If I can't fight people, this is something I can use it for. And now she does dance competitions and stuff. It's pretty cool. Like, she was a really interesting person. And after I talked to her, I checked her Wikipedia page and it was all like her dead name, like a pretty unflattering old picture of her. And so I talked to Fred because he's a Wikipedia editor. And I was like, hey, could you help me out with Polly's page here? And yeah, he went in, he updated all the pronouns. Like, also a funny note is that the Super Nintendo Shadowrun game has a character named Kitsune. That's a woman with fox ears. So finding out that a furry worked on that kind of made a lot of sense. Like, oh yeah, that explains why there's a woman with fox ears who turns into a fox and has a foxtail poking out of her pants in this 90s game.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Yeah, a whole bunch of shit. Jesus, look at all those games.
Another fun Wikipedia job for me, he edited the Wikipedia page for Brigador because I didn't know this. When you cite a tweet on Wikipedia, the full text of the tweet is preserved in the article citations. So he did that to make sure the whole thing was there. And then it was up there for 2 years. Someone recently edited it out. So if you're listening and you're a Wikipedia editor, you know how you can help with that. Yeah,
bring it back up. Brigador. Cool looking game made by people who suck.
And then So this is where me and Fred, we're internet friends. We get along. We have fun talking. We don't get to talk very often. And I had this very distinct thought. I was like, man, it sucks that we live so far away. If I was in driving distance, I could help him with stuff. We could hang out. I bet we'd get along really well.
Yeah.
So then it did work out. And I guess I was right about that. The past couple of years have been fantastic. And I'm really lucky to have had them.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like, I know that we've talked about in the past about how AI has just deep fucked a lot of the types of jobs that he could be doing. And, as an artist, it hasn't really hit me just yet because AI art still looks like shit, but maybe one day it won't. But I'm just reading here about how a lot of his prospects were kind of gobbled up by AI.
Yeah, because by trade, he was a software engineer. And we all know about how that's being kind of devastated by AI. Another thing was that font, he's into fonts, and a lot of the font companies are being bought up by private equity. And then just the designers are fired and they just jack up the rates on the libraries that they have. So as an industry, that isn't doing super well either. One of his things he was interested in doing in the future was maybe taking the bar exam because he's somebody who's interested in law and is good at studying and remembering stuff. And he thought that maybe a cool way he could help people with stuff, especially because one of his things he would pay for bail or help for hackers and stuff.
Okay.
Day, white hat hackers and stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know the proper terms. Please don't correct me for that. I just mean hackers that don't suck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that he had, he was able to do all this because he had a bit of crypto set aside that kind of floated him through. And also, his doubloons and his silver squirreled away. So he was able to help out people when he could. So I bet living in the Philippines is pretty inexpensive too.
That too, yeah, that was a part of it. They had a condo there and everything was
on the up and up.
And another future thing I know I'd mentioned on the show is since he was getting more into gaming because of me, because it was something we could do together. He was getting into recompiling and decompiling, which is the hot new thing, and also a little translation stuff. That was something I was playing Yakuza with him made me think that we would have been a fun translating duo because localizing because I have good creative stuff and he knows good language stuff, so that we could maybe try that for fun. But it didn't happen.
Yeah. But yeah, you did spend you spent a lot of time playing Disco Elysium and Fallout New Vegas, which I'm just one of the things I said when you were first processing everything. I was man, I mean this genuinely and not in a glib way at all, but he spent the last couple years of his life with his friend and then his partner, and he spent it playing pretty fucking sick games, which is like pretty cool in like a kind of a cosmic sense. He didn't live a long life, but he lived a very interesting, complicated, international life, and filled it with stories and learning and knowledge. And yeah,
and like even if he didn't do, quote unquote, do anything after this, I would have just been happy to like play video games with my friend.
Yeah, it sounds like he had a good, he had an extraordinary, like, not, I'm not just saying like he had a good run, but he had like an extraordinary life, really, truly.
Yeah, I'm glad he got to turn things around there at the end. Cause it's like, I mean, I feel like if I hadn't come, I feel like he probably would have died relatively quickly afterwards. Like, I feel like I'd like to think about it that way. It's like, it's not that I couldn't save him. It's that I gave him a couple years he wouldn't have had. And that's not something many people get the opportunity to do.
Yeah. I mean, like, who among us outside of doctors gets to like extend the human life? It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Caretaking is a revolutionary action.
Yeah. I get it. And now we're up to the current day.
Yeah, where we are now. So luckily, Hitomi, the dog, is handling things pretty well. Like, we bonded a lot over the past couple of years. Like, she would basically kind of treat me almost as good as she treated Fred. So, like, she's spending most of his time with Fred's mom now, but for the most part, she's doing good. I had to shut her out of the room we were recording. She wanted to sit by me, and I'm like, sorry, baby, it's you're making noises.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's hanging out with mom right now.
That's good. Glad the dog's doing okay, and you got the mouse. Mouse not making too many noises.
Oh yeah, no, she's that was one of the things. Like, for Fred's last month, when his arm was broken, he was laying on his back. Sometimes I would take the mouse and hold up to his ear, and he would hear her like doing her little squeaks because she has a little congestion. And he would just start laughing. It was so cute.
That's cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another thing is I installed Linux. I figured that was a fitting tribute to him. He only ran Linux. He was always, I was planning on doing it anyways. I was like, fuck it. This is a good excuse. So I'm a week in. I'm definitely learning, but I feel like it's what he would have wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It makes you kind of wonder how people will remember you when you're gone.
Tombstone with install Gen 2 on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, and also like in general, I had some stuff here I don't need to read about. Like we mentioned earlier about how I'm glad I'm dealing with it pretty well, but mostly I mentioned the phantom pain. I guess just like the good thing is that I think a big problem behind this was my immediate future is I'm okay. Like, I'm still staying with this family. They're happy to have me. I'm happy to be here. They're more independent than Fred was, but sometimes it's good to have someone who can walk to do stuff, or someone tall. Like, I feel like Buddy the Elf here, because all the counters and stuff are lowered. So it's just like, I kind of tower over everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you've been very much a godsend to the family, and you've helped them out so much throughout all of this. I know that there have been some things where you really kind of saved the day with Fred's mom. On a number of occasions, and
that's like a week after he died. Like, when she was doing the dishes, and like the control stick of her wheelchair got stuck under the counter and like pushed her into it, and she like couldn't breathe. Like, if I hadn't been there and couldn't pull it off, like the sibling would have had to get a neighbor or something, and who knows what would have happened. This way, I could just come by and just like pull her back, and then get her some air. And she was sore for a day or two instead of it being something much worse. Like, yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, dude, me too. God, pretty wild. I don't know, man. I'm really proud of you, and I'm really impressed at like how well you've handled all of this. Because it's a nightmare that you don't wish on anyone, and you've handled it with a lot of grace, and you like, one of the things that I think really helped from my perspective was the fact that you had immediate work to do, to like clean up the house and to take care of things, and to move his stuff around.
Yeah, and like, I had a schedule, like, that helps autistic people, like, because of his medicine. Like, I have to get up and give his medicine at the same time, like, every day and everything. And that helped pace things and schedule them. Like, yeah, it was I know it's a cliche, but like, he did help me about as much as I helped him. Like, I really learned a lot from him, and like, he having someone who could, because he was patient and could talk with me, a lot of stuff that people hadn't explained to me, he would catch and tell me about, and he helped me a lot. Yeah,
he was a good dude, man. He was very interesting guy, and very smart, and very kind, and very funny. He just knew so much about so many things, and it was just this like invaluable resource throughout the life of this project of ours and the internet as a whole. So I'm really glad that we had had him as long as we did, and I my heart goes out to the family as they're dealing with all this, and to you for being right there front and center for it all.
I was lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, do you have any closing thoughts before we do our recs and move on?
I guess just like the usual, it's like, I've already said, I mean, Fred, Fred got out. Like it's an option that you have. It can be hard. Like in case it was really hard, but you can get out and find new things. And like even those last couple of years, like a lot of stuff, that a lot of people don't get to experience, and like what people usually experience it when they're kids. He had to get it late, but he got to do a bunch of stuff. It's never too late to catch up as long as you're still around. There's things to do, and like that's one of the things I'm leaving with this. It's like I'm not giving up. I already have things I can plan to do to my future. Like maybe I'll study to get certification so I could be like a professional caretaker and get some sort of pay for helping the family. Maybe I'll focus on like getting my own healthcare taken care of, here in New Jersey. There's all sorts of things I can do. But throughout it all, I have the show. That's one of the things I'm glad I have.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I think that, like, not to belabor the point, but like he was running with a gang of pretty politically and socially bad people. But he did not, he saw the writing on the wall. He recognized when things had gone too far, and he got out. And he didn't let that define him, and he realized the errors of his ways, and he did his best to like right the wrongs and to undo. I don't think there's any through line between like him and any of the horrible things that happened on 8chan. I think those are just like phenomena, but the website that he created in the wrong hands kind of allowed certain things to metastasize and then kind of bubble up into what they became. But he got out, and I don't imagine there's a lot of people that are listening to this that are running with fucking Nazi cartoonists or anything like that. But like, it doesn't have to be this way. You can get out. You can find a way to escape this pit, white supremacy and nationalism and all of these stupid, hateful beliefs. They're gonna kill you, and you got to get out of there before they do. So we miss you, Fred, and we're very happy that we had you when we did. And yeah, good guy.
Yeah. Miss him a lot. I'm sure I'll still remember stuff about him that will come up during the show.
Of course.
Coming forever. So
yeah.
It's, I'm glad we got to talk about this. It's I'm sure it will help. I feel like I already have a couple episode ideas I've been working on. So looking forward to resuming, and it'll be good. It'll be good.
Well, thank you so much for putting all this together, man. As always, we have a little bit of we have our recs at the end of the episode, but we talk a little bit about the plugs before we get to it. So obviously, as you all know, we have a Patreon. It is $1 a month. All of that money goes to Jay and Steve. Full episodes, lots of fun stuff. It's fully researched things. There's like 50 hours of content on there. You can get it for $1. It's great. We'd really appreciate it if you told your friends, gave us a like, a review. All of that really helps. This podcast has been going for a while, and we want to keep it going as long as we can. And we really appreciate all of you for listening and being engaged the whole way through. That's us. Check us out. Like us at IFTIPod on Instagram or on Twitter, IFTIPod at gmail.com. You can find me at winslowdomain.com, Winslow Domain on Twitter, and Winslow and Calculations on Instagram. Got a new game coming out. Got new games being made. Come on the Discord, say hi, and check it all out. And Jay, where can they find you?
I'm Jay Brandstetter on Blue Sky. I have my link tree in the show notes. And if you need some help, hit me up if it's something I can help you with.
Yeah. absolutely. Well, you have a rec for us here.
Yeah, I know I talked about this game before we started doing the recommendations, but like because I've been kind of, fraught the past couple weeks, I couldn't bother to learn something new. So I've just been playing a bunch of Kenshi again. Also because I have Fred's old computer now, and it's like when you have a new system, part of the fun is loading up an old game and just seeing how much better it looks. So that's been a good depression game for me. But one of the things I wanted to mention that I haven't mentioned before is that there is like a city building element to it. That's one of the things about that I think is so cool is like you start out as just like one person, but you can kind of zoom out and eventually there are like whole like settlements, and there's like a dynamic faction system, almost kind of like Stalker, where like if you go like there's like an island called Fishman Island where it's full of these like fishmen, and if you go there and they naturally like do raids on cities and found in like settlements and stuff around the coast. If you go to the island and kill the leader, then there aren't any more, or like you can go to a city and kill the leader, and then a different faction will take it over, or you can make your own faction and just like raise armies. It's very, there's a reason why I've spent so much time playing it. You can really just lose yourself in this weird little world.
Yeah, I'll be real. The whole time that you were talking about Kenshi, I was thinking Tenchu. So I was thinking that you were talking about like a ninja game. So I'm looking at these screenshots that look like they are from some sort of modded version of Breath of the Wild.
It's made from some like 2000s role-playing game software, so it has a nice crunchy 2000s feel. But
yes, very crunchy.
Like I like this screenshot. I like this screenshot. It's like that. There's a city. You can see like the giant turbine from a spaceship in the horizon. There's a city built in the base of it, like using the walls as protection. Just a lot of neat, weird sci-fi stuff. Like there's like a place called Duty, and you go there, and it's called Obedience, and you go there, and it's just like all these robot hands frozen sticking out of the ground. And the lore is that like the tech people who were here originally, they like had all these robot servants they built for war, and then after war they just ordered them to march into a volcano and then froze them all in metal. So you go there, so it's like that's why it's called Obedience, because they obeyed and just walked to their own deaths. And you go there, and there's all these cool robots.
Fuck, that's so
the
cool.
lore is really cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I the only game I've been playing lately outside of Clover Pit, I played a little bit of Stalker here and there. I am very emotionally weird right now that I can't learn a new game, just like you. And so it's been hard for me to like get into anything. I have been playing my new game. I've been playing Project Zerzezung, but that's just been like in local playtests. If there's anybody listening in Chicago that wants to play, please hit me up. I'd love to have more playtests going on. That's kind of it. Is I've just been playing Clover Pit and a bit of Stalker too, and just chilling with that. I would say the only rec that I could share is go on YouTube and watch Henry's Kitchen, a very fun series by the comedian Henry Phillips, where he just makes all these fucking awful recipes. Watch Henry's Kitchen Anytime Chili for One. I think it's something like that. It's brutal. It's short, sweet, and very fun. So, that's my rec for right now. But that's all for us. Like us, subscribe us, check out the Patreon. Give us a follow, blah, blah, blah. We love you so much. And we'll be back next week with something more.
Take care.
Bye. I'm From the Internet is created by Jaybrandstetter and Winslow Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Is Broke.